So how has it been? How's it been?
Yes.
The
Very
housing
well,
situation
thank
in
you.
Lagos State.
Very well, thank you.
Okay. Okay. And how has your experience been? What has been your experience?
Well, so far so good. We've been faced with the challenge of providing housing for people in Lagos, and most of our housing projects are nearing completion. We've inherited a number of projects from the previous administrations, and we've managed to complete about 3 of those projects, namely the Latif Jakonde Estate in Igodo, the Lekki Gardens in Lagos, in Lekki on Freedom Road, and then we have the Cortland Villas in Elegushi in Lagos. So we're looking at completing some major projects this year, and that's the Shongotedu Housing Scheme in Etiosa in Lagos, and I think we're going to also be giving Ikonri also in the next 1 or 2 months, Ikonri Housing Estate, Lagos Homes in Ikonri also. So in total, I think in this year, before the end of this year, we should have at least 1,500 units for the citizens of Lagos that they can buy into.
Okay. So how does all of this fit into the general vision of this administration?
Okay, so this administration has actually promised the people of Lagos that we're going to provide at least 10,000 units before the end of our tenure, and that's in another 3 years' time. So we have some other projects that are ongoing that we would get to talk about in the course of this conversation, but mainly we also want to bridge the housing gap, the housing deficit in Lagos. It's not going to be by our own efforts alone. We're also thinking of the private sector also contributing to it. So we're creating an enabling environment for the private sector to also join us in providing housing for the people of Lagos. But us as a government, which we are actually doing now, we're making sure that all the estates that were inherited by this administration from the 2 previous administrations are completed before the end of Mr. Sanwo-Olu's tenure.
Okay, that's a nice one. I was going to ask you, if you don't mind, is it possible for us to have an idea of statistics now in terms of what's the housing deficit figure that you're working with, so you can see how you.
So on that, I have to be careful because people
Okay.
drop numbers.
Numbers, yes, that's what I said.
And I don't think I would want to join that. Okay. The federal government is giving a number. The state hasn't actually put a number to it, but I mean, we've had people drop numbers here and there. Some say we have 8 million, some say 11 million. We are just concentrating on the numbers that we want to provide.
Okay.
Into that deficit, yes.
Okay. Then I was also going to ask you to share with us your thoughts on the importance of housing in Lagos State. How important is that sector in Lagos State?
So Lagos is faced with net migration from Nigeria, from the rest of Nigeria. Everybody dreams, thinks of being or living in Lagos. So on a daily basis, we have at least, I say we have at least 150 people coming into Lagos by bus, by family connections, looking for better jobs, just in search of a better life. And as a federation, we cannot stop people migrating into Lagos. So as soon as people come into Lagos, the next best thing they need is housing. So what exactly are we doing about this? Because we cannot actually tell people not to come into Lagos. The next best thing for us to do is provide as much as we can and also have the private sector join in that development as well. So we're actually toying with some ideas, which we call transit homes, where we have probably in the West as well, where people, once you come in, you can rent out those rooms, but only for a certain number of months or a certain number of days, just for you to settle down either in finding your job or finding the appropriate place of abode. But for now, that is what we are doing. We are not we're not promising anybody, but we're looking into that sort of arrangement for people coming into Lagos, because it is I tell people that it is the most important thing in a man's life. Once you have a roof over your head, you believe that every other thing is settled. So it's a priority in Lagos, and it's a priority for the administration of Mr. Sanwo-Olu.
Okay. I also wanted you to share with us your thoughts on how the private sector has helped so far or collaborated with the government in terms of helping to deliver some of the promises they made.
Okay, that's very interesting. The two housing estates that we commissioned for Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu's first year administration, and that is the Lekki Apartments. Lekki Apartments, I think, was 120 units, and also Cortland Villas in Elegushi. That's also 120 units. They were both done by private developers. So we had 120 units in Lekki and 120 units in Elegushi. And we also have about 240 units in Badagry, the Badagry area of Lagos, where we have some two-bedroom, beautiful bungalows that was built by EcoStone Nigeria also. So we have 240 units already and 240 units. So that's about 500 units from the private sector that has been delivered into the housing stock in Lagos through the Lagos State Ministry of Housing.
Okay. I know that year in, year out, members of the private sector usually like plead with government that they should make the environment enabling for them to be able to do business, getting registration of titles and all of that. I don't know if the government has been able to improve on some of the
yes, actually, you know, when the administration came in, we had over 7,000 files waiting for governor's consent. The governor has actually given out those opportunities to members of the State Executive Council to help in signing those consent papers, and it has actually improved right now. In a couple of days, you're going to be seeing adverts in the newspapers from the Lagos State Lands Bureau telling people officially that their consent papers are ready and they should come in to pick it up and see. It's just like a caveat emptor. We're issuing this to so and so persons. Let us know if government has done right. You know, people bring these applications in. Government, of course, goes ahead and after due diligence signs those applications, and then it is not, most of it is ready now and it's ready for pickup. So we're going to be advertising in the papers before the end of the week or next week that people should come in and pick up their consent papers. So government has actually improved on that. One other thing that we're also improving on is allocation of land to private developers. The only thing that we want is for them to show us that they have the capacity to build and the financial capacity to do a lot of these things. Because when we came in, we found out that, for instance, in the Ministry of Housing, we have quite a number of joint venture agreements with a lot of companies. And till date, I can say that 80% of them are yet to deliver on those housing projects. We have given out land, we have given them an enabling environment to go ahead and do these things, but they have actually not been up to par in the delivery of this project. So those are the challenges that we're facing. We are ready to work with the private sector. We just need them to show us their financial capacity and their other capacities that they can bring on the table to provide and bridge this housing gap for us.
Okay. I also wanted you to tell us a bit about how far you've gone with the enforcement challenges that you've been having with some areas in Lagos. I know you've been doing a lot in the last few months, trying to get people to obey the laws in terms of building and all of that. I don't know how far you've gone with that campaign.
So, you know, like the Housing and Community Affairs family is quite a big family. That's where you have the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development as well. So we've had a lot of encroachment in Lagos. The master plan has not been followed, and we've run into challenges, especially on not the fourth mainland, the Lekki Regional Road, which Mr. Governor commissioned about a month or two ago. We found out that there's a lot of encroachment in that area. So the setback that has been left for the regional road had been encroached upon. And unfortunately for those people, the state has had to go in there to demolish quite a number of housing units and estates to give way to this development. Also on the other side of the road, which is the coastal road. Can you hear me? Can I go ahead?
Yes, it's getting better.
Okay, so we've had encroachment on the coastal road side as well, which we are currently clearing up. And so what government is actually doing now, you see that the Commissioner for Fiscal Planning has been going around and regularizing a number of these places where people have actually encroached on government land, or people have actually not actually followed the procedures that they're supposed to follow. We've gone into estates where people have not even taken any permits, building permits, and we're trying to regularize on that now. One of the major things that we're doing now is the sanitization of the real estate sector. We're trying to regulate the real estate sector. We're trying to give Lagos zero tolerance for fraud in real estate. So we've come up with an agency called the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, and that agency is in charge of sanitizing the sector, regulating the sector, and making sure that Lagosians do not fall victim of land grabbers, housing estate fraud. We've had quite a number of issues around real estate in Lagos, and we've come up very strongly to say that we need to keep a compendium of real estate practitioners in Lagos. So anybody who is dealing in real estate, we expect them to walk into our offices or log onto our website at lasrera.com and register what kind of practice they're actually into in real estate. If you are an agent, we need to know who you are. If you're a developer, we need to know who you are, and we need to know what developments you're doing. It's also to protect you, because you have people who sell off other people's properties. You have people who lease out other people's properties. So if we don't have that information as a government and we're unable to share it with the rest of Lagos and the rest of the world, it is also to the detriment of the practitioners. So we've been engaging with the stakeholders in the sector, and we've told them this is to sanitize the industry, to curb fraud in the industry, to conform with global best practices, and make Lagos the real estate investment destination in Africa.
And what has been the response so far to all the initiatives that we've made in this regard?
Well, initially, you know, as with everything in life, there was resistance from quite a number of bodies, professional bodies, who assumed that we were going to take up their oversight functions in their professional associations. But we've been able to tell them that it's for the good of the people. It's for the good of even the associations, because if you have a regulatory body in the government, then you can be sure that all will be well. So we've met with quite a number of them. Last year, October, we had a stakeholders engagement at the hotels, and where we spoke to everybody in the build sector, everybody in the real estate sector, telling them of government's intention to come in and regularize and sanitize the industry. We've had quite a number of follow-up meetings afterwards, and I think we're making progress now. People have come in, developers have registered. Now people are complying. We will go into our enforcement mode very soon, but we're giving the people or the practitioners the opportunity to come forward before we go out there to start asking, why do you have your sign here? We don't know who you are. Because when the complaints come to the state government. So we're ready to take up that responsibility, which we have not done in the past.